Good morning. We had a great Sunday, and I'm so thankful for our people and how good God is to us. And I hope you'll stay close to God. We're in a world that is going to just tear you away from God in every way possible. I preached a little bit of the home Sunday morning, and the devil will certainly work to tear apart your home, tear children from parents, tear husbands from wives, and of course try to keep us from a walk with God, a relationship with our Bible. We're in a war, we're in a battle, and we've got to work at it and stay close. And everybody's got to work at whatever. If you're going to be a drunk, you got to work at getting up and going to work so you got money to buy more booze. If you're a drug addict, you got to find a way to come up with money for drugs. But this Christian life of ours, it's the greatest thing in the world. The most amazing thing. You put the whole picture of Christianity today together. Nothing like it in all the world. Nothing could compare. I want to read, I like stories of people who endure and people who press on. And here's a quick story of some British soldiers, 1879. This is a group of British soldiers in Africa. It says in January 22nd, 20,000 Zulu warriors swept over a British army of 14,000 men. They wiped them out completely. The only place, then the swarms moved toward the only place nearby, which is called Rorke's Drift, and it was an old mission station consisting of two buildings, a hospital and a storehouse. After hearing of the disaster, the 139 British soldiers there, 35 of which were sick or wounded, built a crude chest-high wall of grain sacks adjoining the two buildings. They built another wall for a place to fall back to. And then they took their positions and waited for death to arrive. Just a little while later, 4,500 Zulu warriors poured over the surrounding hills. And here they are, 139 soldiers. Words cannot describe the terror. They stood there stamping their feet and chanting, and then they took off at a run toward the British, this little compound they had. And the British began to fire, and like a wave, they crashed into the wall, and bayonets and bullets and bare hands. And the Zulus kept charging forward and pressing on, climbing over their own friends' dead bodies. And then finally, the British had to retreat into this inner area where they'd built another wall. And they abandoned the outside, went to the inside. Lieutenant Chard was in charge. And he gave a final last-ditch effort to build a third place that had some measure of protection where they could all retreat close. And night came, and the battle continued by the light of the hospital's burning thatch roof. Wave after wave of these brave fighters surged, the Zulus, he's talking about, surged forward to try and destroy the British compound. But the British refused to give in. At 4 a.m., the Zulus' fury was spent. They receded into the night. Lieutenant Chard and his fellow officers kept their exhausted men sharp, ready for a renewed assault. Dawn came. Then at 7 a.m., the Zulus appeared on the hillside, staring and unbelievingly at the red-clad wild men, and then turned and left. The end of the story. There were hundreds of Zulus killed. Many were carried away. Nobody knows how many for sure, but there are 400 who lay around the compound or inside it. The British lost 15, had 12 wounded, and the 139 had met 4,500 and held on. Sometimes you just have to say, it's my job. I'm going to do it if I die, if I live. And soldiers are such a good testimony. Good soldiers are such a good testimony of the Christian. I'm not here to be treated right. Now, I like it when I'm treated right. I'm not here to be comfortable, although I do like comfort. Just a reality. We're here to serve God. Sunday morning, we had a husband and wife from our Spanish church in the baptistry. We had people, visitors. We had quite a few visitors in church Sunday. We had people saved all throughout this last week on several soul-winning days, Thursday night and Saturday morning. We had the jails and the rest homes. Our job is to preach the gospel. Our job is to, of course, we've got responsibilities at home. Love our husband, love our wife, love our children, train our children for God. Our job is to walk with God, to love Him. And We've got a job to do. And I don't have to be you, and you don't have to be me, but I'm supposed to be faithful to what God has called me to do, and you be faithful to what God's called you to do. And it's so vital that we keep this thing of the Christian life, keep pressing on, and it is a war, and we got to work at it. One of the things that I try to do is, after 50 years, just last week was my 50th anniversary as a child of God. August 28th was my 50th anniversary being saved. And one of the things I do after 50 years of reading my Bible, and after 45 of those years, 47 actually of those 50 years, surrounded by good, godly, older Christians, and learning the things of God, learning the paths, learning, Proverbs says to be careful about the way of the wicked or the way of the righteous. It's not just what they do, it's the way they do it. And we ought to be so careful and so guarded. And I want to take just a word today, and I'll probably hurt somebody's feelings. And this is definitely, a lot of Baptists use this. And if you saw the title of the Morning Moments on discipleship, but this thing, discipleship, let me just give you a quick thought. The word disciple as a verb is never used in the Bible. We use it as to say, I am going to disciple you. The word disciple means disciplined. It doesn't mean educated. The disciples were disciplined. They were called away. They followed Jesus. He was training them to be separated servants, preachers. They weren't sitting in a classroom filling their head with knowledge. That's not discipleship. But the fact is, discipleship is not a Bible term. It's nowhere in the scriptures. The word is used like training or instructions. Many churches today say we have a new discipleship program. That's being used as a verb or a noun, the noun being a discipleship program, the verb meaning come and be discipled. But the word that's not the use of the word. The word in the Bible is a noun. This is a disciple. This is a man. This is a lady. This is an ostrich, and this is a disciple. A disciple is one who is devoted, one who follows. It's not an intellectual prowess that we have. And of course, every leader wants their new Christians to learn, wants their old Christians to learn. Every pastor wants people to grow in grace and to learn and do. And recently, I mentioned the do is before the know, and I'll maybe talk about that in a minute. But this in our church, we have a 12-week, 24 Bible doctrine course, you might say. And it might be sometimes on Sunday night before church, might be on Wednesday night during the Bible study. But before you teach a Sunday school class, 4-year-olds or 14-year-olds, you're going to go through these 12 weeks and 24 Bible doctrines. I want us unified philosophically, unified theologically. And then we've got part 2, another 12 weeks, 24 Bible doctrines. There's 48 Bible doctrines. And before you ever stand in a classroom, you're going to have gone through these 12 weeks and 24 Bible doctrines. And someone might say that is a discipleship program. Well, you could say that, but we don't use that word. That's not a Bible term. It's not a Baptist term. That term, I never heard Dr. Jack Hyles or J. Frank Norris or Lee Robertson or Dallas Billington. I never heard them talk about their discipleship program. Or this week we're starting our discipleship classes, and we'd like to. That's not an old-fashioned independent Baptist term. I think it was borrowed from these Bible teachers. I think it's borrowed from people who are more in the teacher movement and maybe the Calvinist movement, or maybe the megachurch movement, perhaps. I don't know. But that term, it's not a Baptist term. It's not a Bible term, most importantly. But also it's not a Baptist term. Now, there's a guy came to our church, a good family, really good family. They came many, 30 years ago, maybe even a little longer, but about 30 years ago. And he said, within a few weeks, I had the dad with me out soul winning. I remember Saturday morning, tell you right where we were walking down Main Street, just witnessing, passing out tracts. And he said, my old church, we went to a soul winning class, a witnessing class, how to witness to. Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics, and we learned all these things to say and how we could witness to all these people of other church, other religions. And he said, but you know what, when the class was done, none of us went out and did it. He said, here, I come to Faith Baptist, and you don't teach us nothing. We just go out and learn while you're doing. So he didn't understand John 7:17. If any man will do his will, meaning God's will, the same shall know of the doctrine. You want to learn good Bible, you do the things God commands you to do. If he says go, go. If he says stop your boozing, then stop drinking liquor. If he says to live a holy separated life, then you live a holy separated life. And the more doing of the right things that we do, then the more God manifests or opens his word up to us. We'll know Bible doctrine. What did Jesus say to the disciples? He said, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. He didn't say, hey, sit down for the next 8 Saturdays. We'll sit down and go over Bible principles of how to witness and how to preach on the street. No, he said, come on, follow me. Let's go. Let's go do this. Let's go get this thing going. And he called these men away from fishermen jobs, tax collectors jobs, medical jobs. And because you get out doing something, you do learn and you do know. Now, let's just be careful not to judge anybody's ministry on the basis of how many people were doing a one-on-one sit at McDonald's teaching some Bible doctrine. Every Saturday morning, I teach these 2 people, or Thursday night in their home, I'm teaching, through a discipleship series. And again, I'm not being critical of people who do this. We've got some of our finest missionaries and some of our great friends who are in the ministry who have discipleship programs. I'm telling you, it's not in the Bible, and it's not historically Baptist. And it does concern me because Satan is subtle. All he wants to do is just turn you a little and turn you a little. I saw a young man, a good young man, raised in good godly home with good solid independent Baptist church, and pastor, went to a good Bible college and was pastoring, and he on the I don't know what it was, the website or whatever, he was the teaching pastor, the teaching elder. I forget which one it was, been years ago. And I thought, where in the world? Because there was the head pastor, and then there was the teaching pastor. I think it might have been what it was, the teaching pastor, and all these different things. But different people, so several of them getting this church started. And so I went back and looked. I thought, where did they get that term, the teaching pastor? It's not a Bible term. There's pastors, period, pastor. There's, you could say senior pastor, I guess, but that's not a biblical term either. I'm the pastor here. There's only one pastor. I have assistants, and we may say they're the assistant pastor, but I'm the pastor. There's only one pastor. So I was watching that thing, and I got looking, and so I started searching through internet history where the term teaching pastor, I think that was it, but whatever the term was, it is irrelevant. It's the principle. So I went looking for this term. The only time, the last time and only time I could find that term mentioned was when Roger Williams was sent over from England to help the colonies, Anglican churches, stay straight. This is before George Washington. This is way, way back. This is when Roger Williams and John Smith founded Rhode Island. And he's an Anglican. He's not a Baptist. And I didn't say anything to anybody, and you don't know who I'm talking about now, and I wouldn't be critical of the people who are doing it. It's their call. That's what we believe as Americans. Say what you want. We also believe as independent Baptists. Say what you want. But I'm telling you, my concern is that when Baptists start reaching out and grabbing evangelical terms or grabbing Protestant terms and bringing them into our Baptist churches, that is a problem. And this term discipleship, you don't find that in the good old-fashioned, solid, independent Baptist churches. I don't think you find it in any church, but I could be wrong. But I think it's a new thing. I think it's something that's come out in the last 30 or 40 years. And again, I could be wrong, but the idea of a discipleship program, a discipleship class. You know what discipleship used to be? It was called Sunday school. And get your people into Sunday school. Get them into church Sunday morning. Get them into church Sunday night. Get them into church Wednesday night. And let them learn, and then start reading your Bible. You have questions, call the pastor up. Call one of the staff members up. They'll answer your question. But church 3 times a week. Over in Titus chapter 1, verse 3, it says God manifests or opens. The word manifest means to make it clear, make it visible. God manifests his word through preaching. And so if I want this young Christian to grow and to mature and to develop in their Christian life, I'll tell you what I need to do. I need to get them saved, get them into church, get them baptized, and get them back in church Sunday night, Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, because God manifests or opens his word through preaching. God, I don't care if it's a young Christian or an older, seasoned Christian, they will learn more Bible sitting under the preaching, old-fashioned, hard preaching of righteousness. They will learn more Bible in a preaching service than they will in a one-on-one discipleship program where they're learning whatever 10 or 15 or 20 basic Bible doctrines. The things that God wants his word to reveal, he wants to reveal to us through his word, will be manifested through preaching and obedient living. And when a Christian decides, I'll go soul winning, God will open up all kinds of doors. When a Christian decides, I'll give up this liquor, this drugs, I'll give up these habits, I'll start doing things as we surrender to God, as we do. If any man will do his will, the same shall know of the doctrine. So I'm not picking on anybody who's got a discipleship program. I'm just telling you we don't have one. And as long as I'm pastor, I don't believe we're going to have one. And we have preaching. And we do have a doctrine class that we ask our potential teachers to go to because we want to make sure we all think alike theologically. I don't want you teaching one thing in one class and someone else teaching another thing in another class. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Amos 3:3, can two walk together except they be agreed? But not, this is for Christian leaders here that are listening to me. This is not just about the word discipleship. It's about anything. Let's be careful about our vocabulary. Let's don't reach out into the evangelical world, the megachurch world, the Protestant world. Let's don't go out grabbing terms and programs and bringing them into the good old-fashioned, Bible-believing, independent Baptist church because it'll water us down and we want to keep the product pure.